Everybody, Andy here again. Well, this particular video is about Twitter, I suppose, and the internet and social networking, etc., and how it can bring out the best and the worst in people, which it does quite frequently. As a side point, I read something the other day, a tweet by a person of my respect, a music journalist, who happened to put that nowadays, if something happens in the world, in the years gone by, you used to turn on the news, didn't you? Even in the days, as we still have, the 24-hour sort of rolling news that we've had since the days of CNN when they started. But now, that seems to be fading in a way. Yes, I suppose if you want to see pictures, you might put that on, but quite often you'll find out your news from something like Twitter, or Facebook maybe, or some sort of social networking site, online basically, I suppose. And more often than not, Twitter is there before the main news channels, the other websites and news websites, etc., etc. Yes, I know that you sometimes have to approach some of these headlines, some of these statements with a bit of caution. And yesterday was one of those cases actually, because I happened to turn on my phone, check my Twitter, and I saw this thing, this tweet from someone, I can't remember who it was, and it just said, Amy Winehouse is dead. And I thought, whoa, you know, she's not very old. I better make sure this is correct. Scrolled through some more, and sure enough, it became evident that unfortunately that was the truth. Amy Winehouse had been found dead in her flat in London early yesterday afternoon. And then it all started. Once the news was out there, once people had made sure that it was confirmed, and people generally were pretty good with that. I'm not, so I'm not going to comment on this until I know that it is actually true. It's been confirmed by the police or a respected news organisation or something like that, rather than just some random person putting something up there on Twitter. Not that that stops everybody, I admit. But then you start getting the best and the worst come out. And I saw people slagging other people off. I purposely didn't delve too deeply into some of the obvious arguments that were going across each other. Because of the Amy Winehouse situation, there was the case that we all know that she's had her problems, her addictions, whether they be to drink or whether they be to drugs. And of course, you've then got people who've got diametrically opposed opinions about whether addiction is self-inflicted or whether it's an illness or whatever. I tend to just feel sorry for the people. It must be self-inflicted to start with, but then obviously it is an illness in some way. Some people have got far greater addictive personalities than other people. I can think of people that I know who are like that. They go out for a drink, and funny enough, I was talking to someone about this exact point yesterday before all this came out, about a person that we know who, when they go out for a drink, they can't stop. They just keep going and going and going until they become absolutely blasted. And whatever event they've been to, whether it be a great concert or whether it be a racing event or anything, something that you go out there and pay for, and then you can't remember a damn thing about it because you were too drunk, because you just got off your trolley, out of your tree, whichever, legless, whatever expression you want to use. Some people are like that. Most of us, maybe we can learn it, other people can't. And that's where the sadness comes in when you see someone, and we probably all saw those pictures, YouTube video from a while ago. And yes, I was guilty. I had a look at it, and that sort of, I don't know whether you look at it with a mixture of pity, wonder, shock, I don't know really, but you just felt seeing those pictures from, I think it was in Serbia, Belgrade I believe it was, where Amy Winehouse supposedly started comeback European tour, which as we know now was then cancelled because of what happened. It was obvious then that she was in a bad way, but then the other day she popped up on stage with her niece, I believe it was, and did a couple of songs or so apparently. I didn't see anything about it, but I saw it reported. And you think, oh, well, she's obviously not doing too badly, and then obviously the news came yesterday. So addiction is a very sad thing. I've been lucky, never really had any great dealings with it in lots of different ways. But as somebody once again pointed out on Twitter yesterday, that for an addict, you're only one hit, you're only one drink away from potential death. Because of that addiction side to your personality, you can't refuse something. It's, well, let's just try this, try one more. And as we may well know, some of you may well know, Amy Winehouse has now joined that, unfortunately, rather exclusive age 27 club of people who've died, especially music stars who've died when they were 27. Kurt Cobain, okay, he took his own life. Well, then you could argue maybe that some addicts effectively do take their own life anyway. Amy Winehouse was, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Keith Moon, I believe, as well, Jim Morrison, all died at the age of 27. And what is it about that? It's obviously just one of those spooky freak facts that happens. But someone pointed out to me yesterday, Amy Winehouse had died. Then they come up straight away with, she died, she's now joined that 27 club, wherever they may be. And that's quite frightening. All those great talents. And Amy Winehouse, I haven't got any of her music, but she did have a great voice. She released some pretty good music, if you like that sort of thing. Not really my style, but I certainly appreciate her voice. And I heard a quote from Tony Bennett yesterday, very well-known American singer, now I believe in his 80s, who actually said she was one of the best voices that he'd heard because she understood it. She felt that sort of music. And we could probably all say that about all those other people, the Hendrixes, the Morrisons, the Keith Moons. They felt it, they did it instinctively, and that's a great talent. Maybe it becomes a talent that's just too big to bear. Maybe they're just the wrong people in the wrong place. Maybe they're just not cut out for that type of attention and everything that they get, and that's where the addictions can creep in if they're allowed to. So, but why 27? I don't know. I have a couple of theories about that, that when people become successful, that they get to a point when they get to that sort of mid to late 20s, they've done a lot. You think of all those people, Amy Winehouse, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, Keith Moon, all of those people, Hendrix did a hell of a lot in that short life, and it's hard to believe that they were only 27 when they died. And maybe we think about them because they did die, they left a great body of work, etc., etc., and didn't get to that sort of bloated, fat rock star stage which so many people do. But maybe they get to the point where the best is actually behind them. I don't necessarily believe that with Amy Winehouse, because she'd only really released a couple of albums, but maybe it was. Maybe that was part of the problem. She released her last album 5 years ago, and it came to a point, that's where the struggles really started. I know there were issues before that, because I remember reading interviews, but it certainly wasn't as great and as pronounced as it has been over the past few years. Maybe people like that get to that point when they believe that their best work is behind them and they struggle, and that's where the drink comes where the drugs come in and all the other issues, and you end up either dying through addiction in one way or another, or taking your own life, as Kurt Cobain said, as he did as well. Just a theory there, and maybe working with some people now who are around about that age, but they've still got a lot ahead of them. I say, my theory being that you get to a certain point after 5 years or whatever it is of great work, you've really, not saying you've not burnt yourself out, but your best work is possibly behind you, and I think we could probably think about that. Lots of people, the Lennon and McCartneys, okay, they might have lasted a bit longer, but it wasn't that long, 7 years or so that they did most of their songwriting, and after that, what did they do since? Was it as good as what they did before? I would say no. A lot of people might disagree. Anyway, rest in peace, Amy Winehouse. I think you need to now. A very short but troubled life, but as with all those other people that I mentioned in that 27 club, they've left a lot behind them. A lot of us can't say anything like that, can we? Anyway, thanks for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.